All right, guys, we are with the champ and the guy with 19 nicknames, but today he is Next Gen Joe, the 22 and 22. You joined us last week. I told the boys y'all were locked in, and sure enough, you got the big trophy. Congrats, champ.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to be on the show again, guys. I just want to be part of the cool group here.
Well, you earned it. You earned it, buddy, because you got the championship. You're also taking this interview from where it all began this year. You won the first trophy. You won the last trophy. How does it feel holding two of the big ones?
It's pretty neat. We were taking some pictures earlier, and they had the Clash trophy here at the championship. And, I mean, just the whole year in general, right, for the whole industry was just – it's bonkers when you think about what we were able to accomplish and what we all went through as an industry. We got a brand-new car that we didn't know what the challenges were going to be in it. And we definitely found some challenges as we went along, and we evolved and kept making things better, not just as a team, but as a sport. And then we start at the Clash here in the Coliseum, which we've never done before, which is a huge success. And then you come back 9 months later with the big trophy and doing the media tour here in the suites. It's kind of crazy.
Buddy, I've seen no less than 1,000 pictures, and every single one, you're smiling. Are your cheeks hurting from smiling so much for the last 48 hours?
I'm happy. How do you not happy through this? I'm just glad. You know what I'm most glad about? I finally fell asleep last night for like the first time for more than an hour. So the moments after the race are the best, right? Like the initial moment you get out of the car and you see everybody for the first time. That's the most special. But then you're doing media literally from that moment on. You got stuff. I didn't get out of the racetrack till past 11 o'clock. And then we had a little bit of fun for a few hours. And then, of course, Hudson was out there with me, my oldest son, and he's up at 5:30 ready to rip, and so we were just we had a lot of fun. It was good, but I got a little tired yesterday, but today I'm like a new man.
Powering through. Smoking Joe, next thing since sliced bread, 2-time NASCAR Cup Series Champion. So those of us who have never experienced Cup Series Championship, or a win for that matter, take everybody through from the time you take the checkered flag, bullet points for like the first 48 hours after winning the championship. Like what happened?
Well, like I said, the best is the first 15 minutes. That's the best moment because you get out and you see everybody that's there with you, right? And for me, it's real special because I think at Team Penske, I've been there for 10 years, and the relationships that you built with the people that are there, right? You know their families, you know the situation that we've fought through over the years, all these different things. And to celebrate that success together, those emotions are the most real. And I love that. That's the best. That's the highlight. And then after that, you take all the pictures, you start doing a bunch of media, a bunch of interviews, and all these things keep going. We went to a restaurant up the road where we had the team there afterwards. We got done with tech and everything. We had some fun there as well. And then went to sleep for a couple hours, woke back up, sent my wife and kids home back to Charlotte, and then I flew to LA from there and continued to do interviews. And last night was cool. I went to the LA Clippers game, and that was really cool because I sat right on the floor. Like I've never done that before, like right courtside like that. That was something really neat. And so to see how good they were was awesome.
So
that was probably one of the highlights.
I wasn't gonna ask, but since you brought it up, do you consider yourself an athlete compared to those guys? Or are NASCAR drivers athletes?
Yes, we are athletes, but in a completely different way, right? And it's the same, right? I can pick up a basketball, and you guys know I can pick up the ball and I'll shoot it, but it doesn't mean I can play basketball worth of crap, right? And the same thing, they can probably drive themselves to the stadium to play, but it doesn't mean that they can drive a car at the same level that we do. So it's different. But the one thing that is common, I think, between the both of us is that ability to handle pressure, right? The ability to compete in a highly intense form, and trying to bring more to the table all the time. Like that to me in athletes is the same. Whether you're competing in the NBA, the NFL, and NASCAR, golf, right? I believe golfers are athletes too. Right? Maybe your heart rate might not be going through the moon and different things like that, but they have to perform under extreme conditions in a competitive environment. To me, that's what defines an athlete.
You and Paul, you in particular, win the first dirt race that NASCAR's had in a long time. You win the first next-gen race. You win the first race at St. Louis. You win the first championship. What makes you guys adapt that quick to these things?
Not sure what it is that makes us adapt quickly. I mean, the Phoenix race, we went there in the spring. It's our second time there, right? And if you kind of just look at the races, one single race, right? You would go back and go through those things. But I honestly say, of the last couple of weeks, Paul Wolfe has been he's the MVP. He's the MVP of the championship. If you ask me, that's the guy that stepped up the most over the last 2.5 weeks after we won Vegas. He came in with a plan of, this is the meetings we're going to have. Here's what we're going to talk about. Here's every single detail, and not just said we're going to prepare better and that's it. Like, there was a plan on how to do it all the way through the weekend. Every day was planned out exactly the way it needed to be, and then we just went and executed our plan. We qualified well. We ran up front and did everything he said we were supposed to do. But there was a lot of work that went behind that, and he really stepped up to the plate. So to me, MVP, Paul Wolfe, he did it.
So I remember back in 2019, obviously you win the championship in 18. You come to media day in 19 and everybody, hey, what's up, champ? And you're none of that, right? This is new year. So how long does Joey Logano enjoy the 2022 championship? When does it reset? When are you not tripping over your press clippings, as you say?
It doesn't last that long, if I'm being honest. It's special. It's great. Like I said, the first 20 minutes is awesome, and then you do the media tour, and that's great. And there's going to be some championship parties. And, for Team Penske, this is the first time they ever won the IndyCar championship and the NASCAR championship in the same year. So there's going to be some really great celebrations, within the team, which is awesome, and we should celebrate. I think it's something very important to do, right? If you work really, really hard at something and you achieve it, you have to take a moment to celebrate as a team, right? And you give that gratification, right? You kind of have to take that. It's important for the motivation of the team. But at the same time, it's 3 and 23. I already figured it out. That's our new slogan as a race team. We need to go get our third one. We're going to go back to work here shortly and start thinking about what do we need to do, because the championship, as great as it is, and there's a lot of good things that come along with it, but the opportunity it gives you for growth in your team, right? That power that it gives you to be able to really make a difference in a lot of different categories, not just in your race team, but in the sport, and use it for good. It's awesome. And it'd be a total waste if we just celebrated the whole time and didn't take the opportunity to be better. And so we have that opportunity as well. So that's kind of what the offseason looks like at this point, is putting a plan together of how we take this opportunity and grow from it.
You touched on taking the opportunity to provide and grow, right? One of my favorite things that you've said, and I think you took it from Doc Hudson in Cars, of at the end of the day, it's still, the Piston Cup is still an empty cup. But now, my friend, you have 2 big trophies. Those empty cups still give you a large, large platform for good off the racetrack. What do you think changes people's perception of you as a person and a race car driver having 2 versus just 1?
I don't know if I give or care too much about the perception of what people think of me. Like, I've never really thought too much into that, as much as just what can you do with the trophy, right? To your point, it's an empty cup. How do you fill it up? How do you do stuff with it that's huge, right? And yeah, championships are great, and it impacted thousands of people's lives, right? When you think about the families and the bonuses that come along with it, or just the feeling of victory for the fans and whatever that may be, it definitely impacts a lot of people. But when you take the platform and you do something huge with it, that's what lives on for generations. And so we'll come up with a plan over the off season of what that is. But that's something I learned the first time, is that, this opportunity that sits in front of us is a big deal. Because listen, in 20 years, are you going to remember who won the 2022 championship in NASCAR? No one's going to know. No one's going to. It goes away. It's just, the facts are, this stuff goes away. But if you impact people's lives with this, that's generational. That goes for a long time.
If you had to narrow it and wind it all down to the one person you couldn't be sitting there holding 2 cup trophies without, who would it be? One person.
Oh, that's not even a fair question.
I know
It takes an army.
Yeah.
It takes an army. There's not, it's not one. I mean, it depends on the years you ask, right? Like if you ask me, without my dad, am I here? No, I'm not, right? He was the one that we went to the racetracks, and he committed his life, to his kids. You know what I mean? He sold his garbage company, and we went racing. That's what we did. And we didn't know what we were doing. We learned as we went and had a lot of fun while we were at it. Yeah, we had a blast. It was cool. But geez, now, if you ask me one person now, it's my wife is amazing. My hot wife. She does
more T-shirts coming off the shelf.
You guys know how it is.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, though, like, she's raising 3 kids alone a lot of times, right? We're on the road a lot, right? And boy, that's a grind. So you think about, like, keeping your at-home life going at the same time as you're trying to win a championship throughout the playoffs. These 10 weeks are a grind for everybody. It just keeps – the list is too long to really narrow down to one. It's not fair.
Obviously, RP – the captain would be on that list high as well. I've seen you. Roger Penske calls. It don't matter if we're at the go-kart track, if we're at dinner. Joey is not missing that phone call, right? He goes outside, makes time, shows respect for the boss. What does a guy like Roger say in that window after getting the job done?
We're just celebrating and talking about how great it was. We haven't had the moment to actually have a conversation yet, right? Like everyone's yelling and screaming, we're hugging, we're telling each other we love each other, right? That's what it is, right? At that moment, it's just a lot of love. But to actually communicate about, the day and those things, we haven't had that moment yet. But to see it, think about this. That was Roger's 43rd racing championship, motorsports championship, 43 championships. That's bonkers to even think about. The guy just wins, right? Yeah. He's just a winner. That's who you want to surround yourself with, is just people that win. And eventually you become a winner too, right? Whether it's just being around them and the mindset, or just going for the ride sometimes, right? You end up being a winner. And it's really worked out well there.
You've taken over, obviously at the beginning of the season, there was a lot of talk with Brad moving on. You took over a leadership role within Penske as the lead driver there and the oldest driver there. Crazy enough. Now you're one of only 2 multi-time champions in the garage. What weight does that hold as a leader in the garage area to move the sport forward?
I don't know if it holds much more weight than before. I don't think you have to have a championship to impact the sport, right? I don't think you have to win races to impact the sport. I think you just have to have the right mindset and care about the people in the sport, right? And you don't have to be a driver to do that. You don't have to be a crew member. You can be in the media. You can do whatever, right? The facts are we're all here doing what we love to do, and we're only here because the people before us cared enough to make it better for the next generation. It's all of our responsibilities to continue to do that, right? Now, as a champion in the sport, yes, people are going to ask that question more often, and you're challenged a little bit more to do it, but it doesn't mean that you're the only one doing that, right? It's much deeper than that, and we all have to, we're all going to have different opinions, but eventually we all want to achieve the same thing. We want to leave it better than it was when we got here. For our kids or whoever, right? And that's what we want.
You've been on multiple companies' boards with some guys like Russell Wilson and some celebrities. Has there anybody reached out, texted you, called you that you're like, oh, that's pretty cool, somebody called it?
I've been, if I'm being honest, I've done a horrible job at returning text messages so far. I haven't had a chance to just like chill and actually go through it. So I'm planning on my way home. Hang on, let me take a look here. It's embarrassing. You're going to, 819 text messages I have not responded
and
to.
And how many give or take have you fired them back?
If I'm being honest, it's like, I've probably texted maybe 10 back so far. And it's just like, well, and some of those are like group chats where they just keep going, right? So we can probably knock a few of those out quicker. But it's a little intimidating, if I'm being honest. I look at it and I go, oh my God, like this is going to take hours, right? And I love it, though. I love that people care enough to text me, so thank you. But if you're watching this, I'm sorry, I will get there. I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeesh. That's a lot of text messages, bro. That's not hours. That's weeks. Now, do you go like fist bump, thumbs up?
Copy, paste, thank you?
Yeah.
Well, I know, but I feel like if you just say, I feel like it needs to be more personal, and I
thanks,
don't know.
Bill.
So I feel like
it.
if they took the time, I should too, or say something more than that. But then that's what takes a long time. If you just copy and paste, you can knock them out pretty quick, right? But then they start texting. This is another thing. Then they start texting you back again, like they want to start a conversation. I'm like, hang on, I'm not ready for a conversation. And it keeps stacking back up in the list, and it's a real thing here. It's winning problems. It's a good problem, but it's a thing.
I talked to you a little bit before the race there, and the mood Sunday morning instantly got somber, right? Like the news of Coy Gibbs passing away on Saturday night. Certainly they give you more or less your career start in the Cup Series. Relationship with Joe Gibbs. JD passed at 49. Coy Gibbs passes at 49 as well. How do you compartmentalize that? Because obviously it impacted. I was on the fringe and maybe said 10 words to Coy in my life, and it broke me. Like I was in bad shape, and you had a relationship continued to with the Joe Gibbs family. How do you compartmentalize that and also do your job at the best ability?
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I could imagine for the Gibbs guys even closer, right, to where they are still competing for a championship in that heat of the moment too. And the emotions and the thoughts that come to your mind immediately, right? And the first thing that came to my mind was Ty, right? Because you imagine losing your dad, like that's awful. And then you think, gosh, Ty just won the championship in the same night he loses his dad. The highest of highs, the lowest of lows in the same day. And how do you handle this, right? And then I started, and these are thoughts that went through my mind before the race started. And then now he won the championship. He's going to go to the banquet, and all these memories and all these things you're going to want to celebrate with your dad with, and he's not going to have the opportunity. And it's always going to be tied together with the loss of his dad, and that is the saddest thing. And it's horrible. I don't have words for it. I don't know. I mean, I even reached out to him just to say something. I feel awful for him, right? Especially, the week leading into the championship, all the drama that was around it, right? And everyone can have opinions about racing and how you handle things on the racetrack and things you say. But here's the bottom line: you're still human. You're still people. People are people, right? And the love is real. And he's going through all this right now. I don't know how he's doing it. I don't know. I personally don't know. And for me, yeah, I knew Coy. Even when I was there, he was doing a lot of the motocross stuff, so we didn't really work together that much. The most I actually really spoke with him was after a friend of ours passed away, and we were working together to try to figure out some different moving objects in his life, and that was the most I really worked with him. But it showed me that his heart was huge. His heart was real. He cared about people, and he did it his way. That was one of my favorite things about Coy. Like he was always different than the rest of the Gibbs family, and he found his way of doing it, and I respected that. That was cool.
It definitely makes you want to hug your kids a bit tighter after the news about that, right? That's the first thing I thought about, and it was a super cool moment, right? You gave Hudson his first ever ride to victory lane in the car. What was that like going? I mean, there was a picture on, I think, NASCAR and NBC posted like then, and then you're holding him up like Simba over like the rock, and then he's a full-grown little man right now. How was that experience to share with Hudson?
I hope he's not full-grown yet. He's only like to my waist, but he's full-grown 4-year-old.
Right.
And so it was, ever since Kevin did that in Michigan with Keelan, I remember watching that on TV and thinking, that's the coolest. Like, I really want to do that someday. And every time we've won since then, I've been alone. Like, no one's been there. My wife hasn't been there. Like, it's been because the kids and this and that, like, and COVID and all this stuff. Like, I've been going to the racetrack by myself a lot. And so to win and have Hudson there, we didn't have Amelia and Jameson there, unfortunately, because of travel and it was just hard, but, and the time zones and all that. But, to see him go, like, I said, go get the checkered flag, and he runs up the racetrack and gets the checkered flag, and then gets in the car and we do donuts and stuff, and just knowing Hudson like I know him and watching him, do it all. And then the next morning was probably one of my favorite moments, actually, even though he was up at 5:30. It was like his excitement of actually talking about the night, right? He wasn't tired. He was tired at that moment, right? It's past his bedtime and all that, you know, kids are. But to hear like his version of it was so much fun, right?
Yeah.
Of what we did and what it was all about. Like his kid version was awesome.
I love
Dude,
that.
Harper at school the next day was out of the sunroof pulling up to school going, Joey won the championship. Letting all the kids know.
All right, I got one more. I got one more question for you. I know you're a busy man all the way out with a lot of media obligations in LA, but 2018 you won your first championship in Homestead. This year, obviously, the finale was in Phoenix. What's your opinion on the finale race? Is there a spot better for it? Are there markets better for it? What's your opinion on the last race at the particular tracks?
I still think it should move around. I still think the city should bid it out. I think we'd go to the highest bidder like the Super Bowl does. And I say this like it's so simple. It's not. There's way more things in place than I know about. And you can't just do that. But I do like if you just kind of live in your own fantasy land. I think it would be really cool to move around that final race for a lot of reasons. One, it's at different tracks that's cool and different types of tracks and whatnot. But it's kind of bringing it to the fans, right? Not everybody can travel very far all the time and make that time commitment or that financial commitment to come to a race. And everyone wants to go to the championship race. That's the biggest race of the year. It's the Super Bowl. And so I think it should move around. I get it's you know, November and there's some areas that are cold. Maybe it limits to you know, southern states, but why not? There's still a whole bunch of racetracks down there.
Joey Logano, ladies and gentlemen, is your 2022 NASCAR Cup Series champ. Let me see the ring. I see you flashing around. Let me see it. Give it to the camera.
I got it. Here it is.
Bam. Out of focus.
So if
Looks
I'm being
sweet.
honest, this isn't the real one. They give you one to wear for now, and then they give you the real one later with your name on it and your car number and all that. So I got the ZZs on this thing right now.
Are you just going to steal it?
Yes.
I'm keeping this one too.
I don't know. I think it might disappear.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first time with you, right? Ring disappears.
Right. Hey, well, appreciate you coming on the show
I've
this
lost
week.
the ring before, that's for sure.
And last week, Joey, I'm proud of you. Proud to know you. And you are a two-time Cup Series champion. So congratulations, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Love being on. See you guys.
You're
when I get
welcome
home.
back anytime.